totally different.
Okay, I'd rather talk to you than your husband. I mean, your son. So.
Ma! That's got to be one of the great press conference moments ever. And to the question, have you ever seen Tortorella and Frank Isola in the same place at the same time? I don't know if we have an answer.
Who's your daddy?
Frank looks better than Torch anyway.
They both look great, honestly. God, I love that moment. So good.
At this point, if you are still allowing distractions to affect how the way you play, then this is the wrong franchise to be a part of.
LeBron again on the urgency needed for the Lakers. 5-point loss to Memphis, dropping LA to the 11th seed. Ramona Shelburne, first to you. Who is LeBron talking about there, and why is he saying it over and over?
Well, first of all, the question came in from Bill Oram at The Athletic, and he said, do you think this playoff push is a distraction for everybody? Is this, everyone asking about all this to be a distraction? And LeBron says, no, if you're allowing distractions to affect you, then you got a problem at this stage. So I think some of that's context. But the larger issue for LeBron is that he's been out for a quarter of the season. He comes back, and this is a team that he doesn't have a ton of equity with. Like, he just got here, and he has a whole history in the NBA, and everybody respects that. But the other night I saw him saying, you guys don't know me, Dave here, Dave McMenamin, he was with me in Cleveland, he knows this is how I am. And the fact that he has to still say that, he still has to reference what he did in Cleveland because he has not done enough yet in LA to be able to say things like he's been saying over the last couple of nights where he's calling his teammates out, challenging them. And it's at a time when he himself is still coming back from that groin injury and not really able to bring it on both sides of the court.
Woody Page, what did you hear from LeBron last night? What did you see from LeBron last night?
Well, I think he's talking to the entire team, not just one or two players, because he's not happy with that team. But he bought into this. He's the one that chose to go out there because of his entertainment enterprises. So you got to put up with this. This is maybe the second worst team he's ever played on and with, and he doesn't have a second guy that he can go to like he had in Kyrie or Wade or whoever it might have been in his past history. And I'll tell you what, Ramona, if he keeps talking like this, I don't think he's going to get a second guy. I mean, do you think Kawhi Leonard wants to go out and hear that kind of stuff about distractions? Do you think
it's reached that level, Woody Page?
Talking about the Knicks?
You think LeBron is distancing himself from potential free agents and other players?
If I'm a star player, I go, do I want to hear about this stuff all year long? I mean, we love that LeBron talks and he is very honest about what he says, I believe. But really, do you want to go out there and say, gosh, I'm going to put up for this for the next 2 or 3 years? I don't want that.
Is that how you see it, Frank?
Well, to Woody's point, L.A. native Paul George didn't even give the Lakers a meeting, and he resigned to stay with Oklahoma City. Didn't even want to go to L.A. and play with LeBron James. The one thing about that question, are you distracted by the playoff race? How can you be distracted by something you should be focused on? But LeBron, who can be very passive-aggressive, did have a tendency to, when he's saying that, people are going to read it the wrong way. He's got to be smart enough to know that. But my biggest issue, 2:30 to go in that game. They're down by 4. Bruno Caboclo steps up, hits a 3. LeBron is standing in the paint. That's his man. Not only is he not guarding his man, he's not closing out. The biggest issue with LeBron and the Lakers, he's not bringing it on the defensive end. So whatever you're saying in the locker room after the game, you're not doing it on the court the next game. That's the problem.
Glenn Yates.
I think the reason why we're seeing LeBron sort of struggle with these type of answers, Frank, is because this is not normal. This is not what normally happens. Yep. This isn't working right now for the LA Lakers, and that's something they're going to have to deal with. The plan was for him to come in, mentor these young guys, get Lonzo Ball in a situation where he became a different player in the NBA. None of that has happened. LeBron is the issue, and he has been a Bigfoot, no pun intended, for his movie-making career in this franchise, and it's created a leadership problem. What happens next, I think, is going to be very difficult for the club to ascertain as to whether or not this is what they want to deal with from a guy who's one of the best players in the history of the NBA. It isn't working on the court. It isn't working off the court. And as a result, everybody kind of looks foolish, and it's unfortunate.
I'd hazard to say, pun was intended, Clinton Yates, about the movie career. And that's not making a joke. Woody brought up his extracurricular activities away from the court as well. And I want to ask you, Ramona, and this also plays into the body language Frank Isola was just talking about, because fans of LeBron's demise are putting together highlight reels mocking every time he doesn't play defense or where he looks like he's calling out teammates. There was a timeout last night where nobody was within a mile of each other. People are charting when he's doing things off the court and taping TV shows and how or if he plays after. How do you view that, Ramona?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's the right question to ask right now. And honestly, with where LeBron is in his career, like, this isn't actually all that different from what we would talk about with the Cavs in certain stretches in his career, but they were in the Eastern Conference, right? That you could get away with a lot of this stuff in the inferior conference. They would be sitting at second or third, and then they'd have a stretch like this. They'd fall to fourth or fifth. It was like, do we push the panic button? They were never in a spot though where they were going to miss the playoffs. And I think when you look at his body language, like he's like, oh, I can't just turn it on. Like,
so is it fair to critique somebody who has a triple-double in a game for not boxing out on one or two other shots?
It's absolutely fair. That's what he signed up for.
Yeah, Frank, same question to you. And also, is it fair to question a guy who has a day off to be doing something the night before?
Tony, remember something. When he went to Miami, it was a basketball move. He's joining Dwayne Wade, Chris Bosh. He goes back to Cleveland. He's got Kyrie Irving. They make the trade for Kevin Love, and he's doing that to make peace with the people of Cleveland. When he came to L.A., yes, basketball is involved, but there's other things involved. That second star is not there. They couldn't get Kawhi traded there. He hasn't gotten Anthony Davis traded there, and Paul George didn't come. This summer for the Lakers is huge, especially if they don't make the playoffs.
So, Frank, specifically, do the Lakers know to be filming TV shows in the middle of the season, nights before games? He was off for load management, but did they know that? Is that a willing agreement that they got into?
And I think the problem is you want to do that stuff, that's fine, but don't start calling out your teammates and what they might be doing, and they're distracted. If you're going to be a leader, you have to be a leader all the time. You can't be a hypocrite about this stuff.
We've been Horn, we'll move on. The streak is over. Long live the streak. Second longest in NBA history, ending at 32, when the Hawks stopped Harden at 48. Look at the triple, quadruple grouping here. I'm going to call it a team because it's the last 10 seconds, but clearly Harden just stopped himself, doesn't take a shot. Happy with an 8-point win? It was cool, he said after about the streak. Clinton, Harden has been criticized by some for how it was perceived he was chasing the streak. How'd you see it end last night?
I thought it ended, to parrot his style of play, swimmingly. Listen, I thought the critiques of what he was doing were unfair from the beginning, considering the injury situation that was happening with the Rockets. That team is back to a point now where it looks like they are plenty capable of taking the Western Conference, something that I believed and many people believed last year was the case as well. Clint Capella's back. Chris Paul is playing well. They're finally doing it together. I like the fact that the streak ended on something that wasn't that big of a deal. Who knows if he was going to put up a shot anyway? I think the Hawks went a little too far, but the Rockets are in a good place right now, and it's good that the streak is over for everybody involved.
Wait, you think the Hawks went too far, putting 3-4 men around him in those final seconds?
I mean, look, what's he going to do? If he puts it up, you never know if he's going to put it up if they don't have 4 people. I don't think that
Ramona,
defense
you want to
is
answer that?
him from taking that shot.
I'm okay with it because to me it's like I like that they're trying to compete. They're not winning a lot of games these days, and maybe this is something they can do. But I also see it from the poor journalist perspective because I've been there. I remember when Russell Westbrook was having his triple-double streak, and the Suns kind of did that to him. Like, you are not going to get this streak against us. You're not going to break Oscar's record. And they made it so that he literally could not pass to anyone, right? They just wouldn't let him get that as last assist. So I've seen teams do this before, and it's usually teams that are not winning.
Woody Page?
Well, I think the Hawks discovered something too late. They should have gone to that 4-on-1 earlier in the game, but there was nothing wrong with it. They were having fun. He accepted that he was having a bad night and deserved to have 30 points. I think the most interesting aspect of it is he said, I was never going to catch the other guy. Chamberlain had a streak that was twice as long, so he wasn't. So why not get it over with, concentrate on what is important to that team, winning games, getting into the playoffs in great shape. I will remember this streak forever for one thing. 117 step-back threes. That's never been accomplished in the history of the
Yeah, it's an incredible number, whether you remember exactly 117 step-back threes in 2018, 2019, when he went 32 consecutive games. I question that, Woody, but here, a point for your effort. Frank, I saw the last on the streak here.
Yeah, the step back made them go forward because he really carried them to where they are right now. The other night, he doesn't play against the Warriors, and without him, they were terrific. And last night, I give him credit for eating the ball in that situation. I once covered a Knick game where Dana Barros had a 3-point streak going. Don Nelson, then the Knick coach, refused to let Dana Barros take a shot in the last seconds, had 3 guys on him. ML Carr, the Celtic coach, chased Don Nelson into the tunnel and threw a towel at him. That's how
All
I
right, so you know what? Maybe you guys do remember everything. I take back everything I said, Woody. Frank is citing Dana Barros and everything. You know, you called it the 4-1. You know, the box and one defense? It's the one in box. If you got 4 guys on one guy, that's what it was.
Yeah, one
more story from last night. The technical foul DeMarcus Cousins got for throwing the shoe off the court. Is that the right call? Here's Cousins after the game.
Next time, I'll just step on the shoe and roll my ankle, break it, tear an Achilles, just leave it out there next time. I guess that's what they meant.
Clinton Yates, are you with Cousins there or the refs?
I'm 100% with Cousins. Listen, I realized this was sort of a benign play, but I'm not sure that I understand on any level why this call gets made. He is removing an obstacle from the court. Where's the NBA referee Twitter now? You're explaining to me all this nonsense about Bradley Beal taking 6 steps, being something legal. Explain to me why he gets a technical for trying to make the court a safer place to play. This makes no sense. And I'm actually kind of perturbed about how they've managed to explain this, or not at all for that matter.
Kind of perturbed. Oh, I thought you'd either be perturbed or you're not perturbed. Somehow Clinton's kind of perturbed. Ramona Shelburne, how about you?
Yeah, he got a tech for being Boogie Cousins. I mean, that was a reputation technical, right? That was not anything he really did there. I think he was just trying to get the shoe out of the way, and the referee's like, oh, it's Boogie. Give him a T. It's totally unfair.
Woody Page?
But that's what happens sometimes.
Clinton, I'll explain to you. I think that Ramona's half right. The other, you had a young official there. He probably hadn't been in that situation before. He didn't know what to call. He should have called timeout. If it had been a beer can in the middle of the court, they would have stopped play. That's what they should have done.
Okay, Solo.
You know, Tony, years from now, you know what I'm going to remember about that play? Thomas Davis of the Carolina Panthers catching the sneaker in the front row. But to Clinton's point, in that situation, if somebody were to throw something onto the court, there's debris on the court, the referees would call timeout. The player loses his sneaker. The referee should stop the game right there. Take it off. So I'm with Cousins.
The bigger deal is Cousins had basically his best game, I think, right, with the Warriors. I mean, it was 2010.
Yeah, it was great.
Yates, have you progressed to fully perturbed? Can I just check in with the temperature?
Oh, yeah. I'm fully perturbed. Until they hit me on Twitter, I need a Twitter response. That's all I need, NBA.
We've been home. We're taking a break. By ourselves next. We're going to talk about Dirk Nowitzki, his farewell tour, and it's going to be by yourself. Has he announced his retirement yet, though? That's the question. Because it seems like the NBA is forcing Dirk to retire. In a related story, congratulations, Woody Page! Congratulations, ladies and gentlemen, Woody Page! Put your hands together for Woody Page! He's still here. All right, Woody Page, press your luck. Ready? Press your luck. Big money, big money, big money.
Right. No whammy.
Stop.
Let's do it.
Nolan Arenado. 8-year, $260 million.
Oh, yeah!
What does it mean for Arenado? What does it mean for the Rockies? What does it mean for baseball, Woodrow?
It's life-changing event for the Rockies. Not only did they sign their manager, Bud Black, to a 3-year extension, but they've got Arenado for 8 more years. Best third baseman defensively and offensively combined in the game, that he's not going to the Angels or the Dodgers or the Yankees or the Red Sox. He's going to be right here with us. In fact, I booked a flight down tomorrow to thank him.
Okay. Frank Isola, how about you?
It's a great deal for the Rockies and for Arenado. Here he is, the last 4 seasons, 3rd in baseball in home runs, 1st in RBIs. And what's great about this deal, he can opt out of it after 3 years. He's only going to be 30 years old, and he has a no-trade clause. That's a good deal.
Clinton Yates?
Yeah, I was going to say that opt-out is huge right there for them. But I actually like the signing of Bud Black a little bit more for the Rockies. He's taken that team to the playoffs more than any other manager in the history of the franchise. That's as important if you're asking me.
Right. So you think Bud Black does more for their... What's Bud Black's
I think Bud Black's
I really want to know what
maker
Bud Black's
on this
for right
team,
now.
yes.
This is Nolan Arenado we're talking about here, Clinton Yates.
I understand that, but I'm telling you that Bud Black is the key to that team getting to the playoffs. He's been more than any other manager in the history of the franchise.
Ramona Shelburne?
Big deal.
I don't know. I think in baseball, we've seen a trend now of all these of all the teams like de-emphasizing managers and not wanting to pay them all that much. They just get the sabermetrics guys and they plug and play. It's players who matter, and Nolan Arenado is a top 10 player in this game.
Yeah, and Woody's going to get on a plane and thank him. That was breaking news. Maybe we should put that on the bottom line here on the show. People need to know that. Buy or sell to Clayton Kershaw. Actually, first this. Do you guys play catch or do you have catch? Yell it out.
Play catch.
You
Play catch.
You have a catch. This week, 4 days after resting for a sore shoulder, yesterday's activity left him not feeling great. Dodgers have yet to plan for an MRI. What's the level of concern here, Clinton?
I think the level of concern is extremely high. Listen, if a guy like this can't throw the baseball and you're this pressed about making him your opening day starter, well, then you're going to have to figure out what your priority is. Do you want him on the mound to start, or do you want to go with a guy like Walker Buehler, who I think should be starting opening day anyway? But as it turns out, his bobblehead day is on the third game of the year, Tony, not the first one. So they can't.
Ramona Shelburne.
Look, Clayton has had a lower back injury for a long time. He's been struggling with that, and the Dodgers sort of know how he can manage that. He's missed time on the disabled the last couple of years. They understand it enough to have given him $93 million of the contract extension over in the offseason. Okay. He has never had arm trouble like this, and so I think it's really concerning that he now
this
has
is a back that he had initially. That's into a shoulder. Now you're saying an arm. Kinetically, this is all related, is what you're saying. Woody Page, how about you?
This is a new injury. They understand the back injury. They're comfortable with the back injury enough to give him a contract. But the arm injury, this is something new, and that's scary with the pitcher.
My turn, Ramona. In 1934, Dizzy Dean broke his toe, changed his pitching motion. I think there is some affiliation between the back and the arm. He needs to go have an MRI and have it actually checked out rather than just saying, oh, he's having a little bit of a problem. Find out what the problem is.
All right. Our resident Dizzy Dean, Woody Page. And how about you, Frank Isola?
Well, Ramona's right about that. You know, they gave him this huge contract, and here he is hurt. And last season, he missed time on the disabled list. It's great. They're going around, you know, romancing Bryce Harper. The most important player on that team is Clayton Kershaw. They need him healthy.
Buy or sell 3. Doc in the timeout with 9 seconds left. So the Clippers fans could salute Dirk Nowitzki last night. You guys saw this. We'll lay out for a second. Let's go. Let's go. I'm not sure. Did you think Dirk liked that? Was it awkward? Ramona, buy or sell the whole thing?
I mean, I got a little misty watching it and all that, but if I'm Dirk, I'm like, hey, I haven't said I'm retiring. Like, we just got Luka Doncic and Porzingis, and like, it might be really fun to be with these guys next year. Don't retire me before I announce it.
Didn't this happen with the All-Star game as well? It's just like the league is pushing him forward. Woody Page, how about you?
This is a premature announcement. I mean, you really shouldn't be doing this to him. The guy, first of all, doesn't want attention, and now you're giving him undue attention when he could possibly, as Ramona says, want to come back and play and mentor those kids for another year. It's a big mistake. Never push, Tony, anybody out the door until they're ready to go.
My lips are sealed. Frank, I still how about you?
A little personal.
When Dirk came to Boston and New York to play the Knicks, he got a spontaneous ovation from the crowd. It was impromptu. They didn't need someone to tell them, oh, by the way, this guy's retiring. Everybody clap. Instead of chanting defense, it was clap for Dirk. He's a great player, and he's leaving everybody. Yay.
Clinton Yates.
Come on, you guys are killing Doc. This was a nice moment. I was there. People seemed to be having fun. It was a little awkward, but it was certainly better than trotting out some prop like they did for Jeter when he retired. I mean, listen, this was fine. I thought it was okay, and I'll give props to Rivers.
All right. Clinton Yates.
Shut it down. Let's go home.
Shut it down. Let's go home.
L.A. Goodbye, L.A.
Woodrow. Francis. Showdown next.
Yeah, five more minutes.
He gave Francesa. I was there.
Yeah, he did. He did. Page. Frank Isola, best of luck in Showdown. Showdown 1 is the NFL considering reining in celebrations a bit. This is a report from Mark Matzke in the Washington Post. This is over guys coming on from off the field to celebrate with guys who were already on the field who did something worth celebrating. Woody, where do you come down on this?
Compensation committee doesn't have enough to worry about officiating in the playoffs, replays, and they want to actually come down on having a little bit of a celebration. It makes no sense whatsoever. Concentrate, NFL, on what's important.
Oh, come on, Woody. They can do all of those things. And too many of those celebrations were a little too forced. I like the idea. If you're on the bench, stay on the bench. Just let the guys who are on the field celebrate. Nothing wrong with that. Plus, the fans seem to like it. Just reduce the number of guys.
They want to share in this.
The NFL can do all of those things? I'm not so sure they can do all those things. Frank Point, Woody Page.
Why not?
Focus on replay and what is a hit and what isn't a catch and what is a catch.
They're not going to.
We'll move on. Showdown 2, the best story in the entire show. Let's look at torts.
Mrs. Reed? Hi, this is John Tortorella. I'm in the middle of a press conference here. I've seen you call a few times, so it's rude of him not to call you back, but he's busy right now.
All right, now let's look to see Tortorella and Isola. Isola and Tortorella. I don't know. I've never seen him in the same place at the same time. Frank, grade the performance from the coach, from Ma, and from the reporter.
My brother from another mother. I like what he did there. And Tom Reed from The Athletic is a great guy. And for Tortorella, who gets into it with the media a lot of times, it was a very human side of him. Good job by him.
Frank, you realize, though, that the mother might have been calling with bad news, and he's having fun with her up there? I don't think that's a good idea. Get on with your press conference.
Mr. Optimistic.
Don't embarrass the
Mr. Optimistic.
I think he could be a little bit more optimistic. I think it was a very, very tender moment. I think Reed's going to be like, Ma, you're killing me here. At some point, we're going to do Tortorella, Mitt Romney, Matt Lauer, and Frank Isola, and Guy Smiley, and see if we can tell the difference. But for now, Woody Page is going to be our showdown.
All right. My favorite city had a baseball